Shosholoza, shosholoza, kulezo ntaba sitimela sibume South Africa. Shosholoza, shosholoza, kulezo ntaba sitimela sibume South Africa. Shosholoza, shosholoza, kulezo ntaba sitimela sibume South Africa.
Today we're joined by David Johnston, a South African living in the UK. David, welcome to Voice of Solutions podcast. A pleasure to have you. How are you doing?
I'm all good to be with. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How's it been for you? We're going to spring now. Bit longer days. And all.
Yeah, much nicer weather. Coming to you, going through some nice countrysides. All the lambs are out. It's very pretty.
Yeah.
Not as depressing feeling.
No, nice to hear that, man. Okay, David, just give you a brief introduction of yourself so that our listeners can just know you better.
Yeah, no. So I'm David. Been living in the UK for about 1.5 years. From Cape Town, South Africa. So yeah, no, it's been good coming up to London and meeting lots of interesting people like Aviwe and yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, man, nice to hear that. Also, you're from Cape Town, right? You said.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. So just take us back to David as a child, your childhood, how you grew up, how was South Africa at that time to you? Have you been anywhere else while you were a child other than South Africa?
Yeah, I was grew up in the 90s, so a lot of change and interesting time to be growing up. But I was in Malawi from age 5 to about 8.
Sure.
Living there in Blantyre. Very nice place to grow up as a kid. A lot of freedom, always warm, so you're always playing outside. So,
Yeah.
it was quite a magical memories growing up in Malawi. And then South Africa, coming back there, it took some adjusting because it was from very rural town to a big city at a different age. So yeah, it was interesting, very interesting.
Oh, that's fine. So, you're still age 8. Maybe not many memories in that, because I was gonna say, how was it different from being in South Africa? But you already covered, because of obviously in Malawi you were in a more rural area, and then you came to Cape Town.
Yeah, came back to Cape Town, and I think what was interesting about Malawi was just it was very diverse. The groups were in because you had kids from countries I'd never heard of,
Sure.
like Portugal and stuff as a child, because you know when you're a kid.
This is Cape Town already in those.
No, in Malawi.
Oh, in
It's like
Malawi.
so
Oh, yeah.
diverse. Like I met lots of different people from different backgrounds, so
Sure.
it got me interested in the world and curious about learning about different countries. Because
Yeah.
I didn't know what Portugal was and stuff. Because 8 years old, and so you just met lots of different kids from all over the place. So yeah, I think what the value it gave me was being open to variety of people, from the local Malawian people to kids from Portugal, America, UK, and other South Africans. So
Was it a public school, or it was
it was an
international school?
international school, yeah. But there was also local kids and so on. So it's a very close-knit community because it's not a big population, Malawi. And yeah, there are not many facilities, so you have to get together with each other to make things happen.
Okay.
So it was nice.
Oh, that's good, man. Now, you captured it very well. Now you're back to South Africa at what, age 10 or age 11 at that time, right?
Yeah, about age from 8 till when I finished school.
Sure.
So just growing up there we had lots of students living with us from Zimbabwe. Growing up around them was so good. They're very fun bunch. So Yeah, no, growing up in South Africa is a nice place because Cape Town, as you know, is got mountains, sea,
Sure, sure.
um, all different types of things. So yeah, it's a nice place to grow up.
So which side of Cape Town were you located in?
We were originally in Constantia, Meadows side, so the suburbs,
Sure.
um, in amongst all the sort of winelands and so on,
Yeah.
and then moved to Cork Bay side by the beach.
Yeah.
So that was nice. I kind of wish I'd grown up there because
Yeah.
I could just imagine running around in the mountains and
Yeah.
beaches and stuff. But still, no, it's nice because you just go walking down the road and there's the beach and
Sure.
go swimming and stuff.
And,
It's a nice lifestyle, Cape Town.
sure. And in terms of schooling, how was schooling experience? How would you describe yourself as a
Ah,
child at
tough.
school? Were you not the naughty one?
Yeah, I was sort of the naughty one. I was diagnosed very young with ADHD back when it was still stigmatized before everyone wanted it.
Yeah.
Um, so it was tough getting through school, but I persevered, got through it, got
Sure.
my matric to get into university.
Sure.
I remember the one teacher saying when I was very young, first diagnosed, I won't ever get a matric, but
But you
managed.
got it, man.
Oh, I've got my matric and two
Fantastic.
degrees, so prove
Fantastic.
that teacher very
Prove it
much
wrong,
wrong.
eh? It's
But
sweet,
yeah,
man.
it was tough going through school,
Yeah.
just in that sense.
Yeah.
But overcome it.
Yeah. No, that's a very interesting one. Did you ever, as part of I mean the group of kids, did you ever felt like you were different in a way or being treated differently, or over time you just got over it and you just knew this is how you do things differently, a bit different from others?
Yeah, no, I don't know a bit. I think everyone thinks they're a bit different in a sense,
Sure.
but I definitely felt like, why am I struggling with this
Sure.
topic when I know what's going on?
Sure.
But then my results are not showing in the exams and so on.
Sure.
So realizing, okay, I know my stuff, but maybe I'll never get the best grades. But
Sure.
as long as I get through it,
Yeah.
that's all right.
Which is the most important
But
thing.
I know my stuff, that type of thing. But also, I always somehow had a confidence just to be myself and not conform to things. So
Sure.
if there were big trends
Yeah.
as kids, was it Pokemons, Tazos? I wasn't really into that. I liked my own things, just because I liked it. If I didn't like it, I didn't like it. If I liked it, I liked it.
And that's
So it's that confidence.
that is very informative as well,
Mm.
because I mean, as part of this, it needs to be educational. It needs to be, people need to gain value of it in terms of whoever you are or wherever you are, there you are. Basically, wherever you go, there you are. It's you, and you present yourself. In a world where everybody's being boxed into the same thing, you are happy to be different, and that, I mean, that is commendable, right? That is commendable. So okay, you go through school and then you finish your schooling now. You go to the university in South Africa still, right?
Yeah.
And how was the experience for you?
I did, well, I didn't tell you this, but I did 1 year culinary school, with chef school for a year. But halfway through, I realized this is a horrible job. I do not want to be a chef because I was very bad at the whole yes chef, no chef.
Sure.
But I persevered, got the 1 year diploma.
Okay.
But then I realized I enjoyed more the business side of it.
Sure.
So then I did my business management through UNISA.
Degree. Sure.
Struggled through accounts. I don't
Yeah.
know why accounting is
Yeah.
was tough,
Yeah.
but I got through it. And then after that, I realized I enjoyed law,
Sure.
and I don't know why. There's some reason, but I decided I'd come to the UK probably
Sure.
because it's getting paid in pounds. But I decided let's use. I'm very privileged to be able to have two passports, British,
Sure.
South African, but
Okay.
British is just to help get through the paperwork.
Yeah. So, Ed, just taking it a step before you continue with it. So, at what age were you a dual citizen, or from childhood you were a dual citizen, right?
I think, yeah, about age 10, 12.
Sure.
British passport,
Sure.
I think, was when I got one.
Yeah.
Because both my parents hold one from where they're from originally. My mum being from here, in the UK, and my father having ancestral visa from his father, having been grown up in Zim.
Okay.
So that's how I was entitled to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
So, growing up, how did that help you having to, just before you get to the point where you completely moved to the UK, did you ever see the benefit of having dual passport as a child?
Yeah, well, definitely it gives me an advantage that I can be in two different countries and legally work. So if opportunities come my way, I've got two different countries I can look at. And then back then, I could work. We won't go into that too much, but you could have worked in the EU as well. So that was the benefit of having the British passport. But I think growing up, you kind of that dual passport. I don't know. You sort of you have that British passport. You
But
don't feel
only when you
British.
use it.
Yeah, you don't feel British.
That was the next question because that's why I was asking at what age. So at 10, you get a British passport. You now have two passports.
Mm-hmm.
But now you regard yourself as a South African in the UK. And
Yeah, no, I don't really regard myself as British, even though we speak the same language as
sure,
English people, and I'm sure you've got the same experience.
sure, yeah.
You do feel very different to them. There's certain things that are just very different in terms of lifestyle and your approach to strangers and stuff.
Yeah.
I think South Africans are a bit more friendly to strangers, more welcoming.
Sure.
But it's a cultural thing. It's not because they're cold.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
not
yeah.
being mean in the UK.
Yeah.
It's just culturally because I guess there's a bit more community sense that we've retained in South Africa, whereas UK it's become a bit more individual, and you spend time with your friends from childhood and that thing. So it's just the cultural difference.
Sure.
That's quite.
Okay. No, that's interesting. So, just before now we take the step where you're now moving to the UK. How was South Africa? Did you travel to other places within South Africa and all? And how was South Africa to you? What does South Africa mean to you?
Well, I know with people from Cape Town, it's considered by a lot of people to be its own little country in a sense. So as soon as you pass those mountains,
the Cape Independence,
you feel like you're in a different, or not those guys.
Okay, no.
But as soon as you cross that mountain, you do feel like you're in another country because I don't know, it's just
Different.
Cape Town's very different. It's its own, got its own feel. But yeah, we did travel a lot. I was privileged to be able to travel a lot. My parents like to take us on road trips. And you'd go to Kimberley, Johannesburg, Bloemfontein, Eastern Cape, all these different places, and you'd see, and it was just always amazing how we're in the same country, but the terrain is so different. The people are all fairly similar. I'd say Joburgers are more friendly than Cape Townians. Just how I've been feeling. So I do like Joburg.
Sure. No, that's what kind of food did you enjoy? What kind of meals did you enjoy? What memories do you carry with yourself when you think of South Africa?
Yeah, no. Well, I was very lucky that my family was always liked to try different foods. So we'd eat pap and meat and all that, and then we'd also eat things from like European foods such as your pastas, your Asian foods such as all the stir fries and different flavors. So that was always good. I think it fitted in with already being interested in the different elements of the world. So it wasn't just getting used to new things. In that sense.
Okay. So in the year 94, or 1990, were you old enough to see what was happening in South Africa at that time?
No, I was just I just remember seeing Nelson Mandela on the TV and him always smiling and dancing. So we always liked the look of him, and you did get that feeling as a child, like, oh, he's like a grandfather
Yeah.
It was interesting growing up from that perspective as a
Yeah.
kid, seeing him on TV, and you
Sure.
like generally like wish you could have met him,
Yeah.
that type of thing.
Yeah.
Because
No, that's interesting. Now, you say you go to university. Or before you go to the university, you say you go to your chef
yeah,
course. Did that help you in any way? Are you able to cook for your better half now because at least you attended those classes?
yeah, I can cook. That was a big benefit, and
Yeah.
I don't often tell people that because then they expect you to cook for them. But yeah, definitely I enjoy cooking. It's a nice hobby of mine. I like to see something
Sure.
and decide, oh, I want to be able to make that, and then
Yeah.
try it out because it gives you the confidence. I'm quite messy in the kitchen, so the better half, she's always cleaning up after me and telling me off, why haven't I put this away? But it's good. I've improved since I've been with her because she makes sure I keep
Clean.
everything organized. Very disorganized before her.
That is interesting. And then you go to the university and you go through your business management course. How was that?
Yeah, so I went to after my business degree, I
Sure.
came to the UK to Brighton University
Yeah.
to study law. Did a postgraduate diploma in law
Sure.
to enable me to practice eventually to then do the next stage, which I haven't done yet. But um, the that was interesting studying in the UK because the UK is even more of a melting pot for all types of students from all over the world. Like I met people from countries that also like only heard of but never met their people,
Yeah.
and Brighton's also very, what's it? A very nice city. It's right by
Sure.
the beach.
Right by the beach.
So
I know.
you could the best benefit of the UK over South Africa is you can braai on the beach.
Braai on the beach.
Yeah, you can
And
just
then
take
got closed up in London.
yeah, you just buy a disposable braai. You
Yeah.
take it down to the beach and you
Yeah.
make a fire and you
Yeah.
cook your meat,
Yeah.
and no one asks. Well, you don't have to worry about getting fined.
Sure.
Whereas South Africa, that's the only thing in South Africa. You can't legally braai on the beach. You can, but if you get caught, you get big trouble.
Yeah.
So that was always good. I liked cooking South African foods for my foreign friends.
Sure.
Teaching them. Unfortunately, with Brighton,
Yeah.
a lot of vegetarians, so they never want to have the meat. I just have to make them chagalaga and pap.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Last time I was in Brighton, I met two girls from South Africa. They go to Brighton University, and they met here,
Uh-huh.
and I mean they were just clinched together because they're South Africans. Did
Yeah.
you have anyone from home and that you could relate 100% to, or it was a thing of okay, now you are a maid, you are here, you are
No,
maid.
unfortunately, I didn't meet
Yeah,
many when I was there.
sure,
I only met a few as I was finishing up my studies,
sure.
and they were leaving the UK. But no, I didn't meet too many there.
Sure.
So that was unfortunate, but also good because you meet
Good,
other
right?
people
You
out,
get meet new people.
yeah, new people.
Sure. No, that's fine. So you now in the UK. So apart from you are leaving to come study law, which I think you were in Cape Town, you could have studied it in other universities in South Africa. I mean, I know UWC as well is doing well in terms of law. What were the key reasons for you to say, I'd rather leave and go do it in the UK?
I think it was partly to do with um, wanting to get an international working experience,
Sure.
then to come back with that international experience and then work in South Africa. That was the plan
Yeah.
at the time, but things change.
Yeah.
So that's why I went to the UK, because also a lot of business contracts are written in English law and settled in English courts. So it was that sort of international
Sure.
attraction of doing it here.
So at that time you're not like frustrated. This is maybe things are not going well.
No,
It was more of this is an
yeah.
international experience. Yeah.
All the sort of things happening in the country in that time, because this was around 2015 and so on. I was like, business is still ticking along. It's tough. There's a lot of difficulties for everybody to get jobs and so on. But it wasn't the deciding factor. Oh, I need to leave the country, like
Yeah,
some reason that people use.
interesting. And then you are living, and this was the first time for you to come to the UK, am I correct?
First time to live.
To live in the UK.
To
You
live.
used to come and visit.
Yeah, I visit grandparents
Sure.
and cousins and stuff because I didn't have any family in South Africa.
Okay.
I only had them over here.
Yeah. Oh,
And it's funny, we're family, but we're very different because of
sure.
the upbringings.
That is a very interesting dynamic that I think a lot of individuals don't have. Your grandparents are British
Yeah,
because they consider themselves British. They
yeah.
grew up in Britain. And you don't consider yourself British. Yes, you have a British passport, but in terms of culture, you have cultural differences with your grandparents. How was their experience? Like when you visit them, did you feel like this is my grandma, this is my grandfather? Did you have that connection?
Yeah, you cherished it because you knew it wasn't regular. You'd see them once every 2 years
So
or once every year because I know my grandfather used to come down as much as he could.
sure,
So that was nice. We always look forward to seeing him. And then, yeah, he was like an old school British
yeah,
gentleman type, very proper. And
yeah,
they always wore collar shirts and so on. He was very British.
yeah,
But they had also spent a lot of time living in Zambia, Botswana, when my mother was growing up.
okay,
So they were quite familiar with all the different. It wasn't alien to them, the whole Africa, because they spent their working lives in those two countries.
sure.
Yeah.
And the whole time you were in South Africa, including the university, you were staying with your parents, am I correct?
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
So this now was the first time where you go out by yourself, right? And face the world. How was that? How were the emotions? Did they trust you? You are ready to be by yourself. Did you trust yourself?
Yeah.
Was it scary?
No. I think the scary thing was what is it? Keeping track of bills and was it council tax, because that's complicated. When they send you that letter, it makes no sense. Like it's a huge amount of money, and you think I have to pay that now, but then you realize, oh, it's
Yeah.
a bit here, a bit there. But even still, it's a lot. Even back then, so that was fine, and well, one was nice learning. You can just do what you want, but if you end up not getting like fed, it's your fault. It's being responsible. You learn to be responsible for making sure you're eating well,
Yeah,
sleeping well, and not getting into trouble, that type of thing. So that was good experience.
sure. And okay, now you land back. Obviously, you have an idea because you've been here before. Then you go down to Brighton. Where there's still shocks at that time. You're like, I didn't expect this.
Yeah, well, it was very interesting just experiencing the sort of the similarities and the differences. Like the things people would complain about in Brighton, I
Sure.
think I don't identify with that. That's weird. And then you'd realize also there's a lot of things that are the same, like trying to get things done through government, your local municipality is just as frustrating here. Maybe
Yeah.
it's a little bit more efficient to get it in,
Yeah.
but the processing is just as frustrating as
Sure.
back home. Nothing as frustrating as local home affairs back home, but
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
it's not a perfect world. You realize when you live in another country, every country has its problems,
Sure.
its pros, its cons, as everything does.
Sure. And you then studied through your course. And in terms of the university itself, you said the differences where you now have people from across the globe. How were the other differences in terms of comparing South Africa or South African university to the UK university
Oh, being from UNISA, I didn't really have much
of presence?
exposure. Yeah,
Sure.
most of the students were South African or Zimbabwean or Congolese,
Sure.
but not really. And you'd only meet them either at sort of tutoring classes
Sure.
or at the university exam centers.
Sure.
But then here it was proper being a student for the first time.
Sure.
That was different, yeah, that sort of life. So I don't really know how to compare with South
Sure.
African university
Perfect.
life. And yeah, because UNISA, we did everything by correspondence.
Yeah.
Fees must fall by correspondence.
Yeah, I know. So, how would you say were your challenges then now once you started then living alone? One thing is council tax, but maybe finances and other things that you found to be a challenge. Then you are now in a new country, you live by yourself, you've got to decide the limit that you have, you can blow it if you want to, or you can. How were like what were the challenges at the time that you found it challenging?
I think balancing the studies,
Sure.
staying positive, um, to actually, you kind of alone. So
Yeah.
trying to stay positive with the whole that you're going to pass these exams and
Yeah.
all that stuff. That was challenging. You can't just go to your familiarities,
Sure.
talk to your friends face to face.
Sure.
I don't think WhatsApp calls were really. I think that's when they were coming about. So it wasn't as easy back then to even
Sure.
family whenever you want or your friend. So that was a challenge. But so I did get quite homesick. When I'd go home, I'd really appreciate being back home.
Yeah.
And when I did finish, my plans changed a bit, and things changed back home that made me think, oh, I'll be able to go home and get work,
Practice.
because there was a lot of changes happening 2018 or so. So there's lots of promise of new jobs coming about and all that. So I thought, oh, I'll go back home now and
This
work.
is now Ramaphosa's term, right? Cyril's term.
Yeah, around the start of the president, the new administration, they were sort of saying they're gonna bring jobs back, sort out all the sort of lack of economic growth, and that type of thing. But that's why I was like, oh, I might as well go back home and try and find a job, because I want to be part of all that renewal that is happening
Sure.
and that type of thing.
And okay, you believe then it's fair to say you believed what you believed that things would change, or things were looking positive in what obviously the new administration was preaching, if I put it that way.
Yeah, definitely. Because I thought, oh, they want to make change, and they're saying all the right things. So then definitely there will be jobs soon. But I forget, back then I didn't know how all these systems work, and it takes lots of time
Yeah.
before change happens.
Yeah.
And then, in a way, I'm glad I did come back home, because family things for my father was suffering lots of surgeries. He'd done bad damage to his leg, so it was good to be around. And then with the COVID pandemic, when that happened, I was thinking, I'm so glad I've out in Cape Town with this big garden and not in a tiny flat all the time, stuck
Sure. Yeah.
in this place in a tiny flat
Sure.
and alone from family. So
Sure.
it worked out in a sense that due to other unforeseen circumstances, it was good that I was back in South Africa at the time.
Sure. Okay, so yeah, you're homesick, you finish your qualification, and you don't practice at all in the UK. You go back to South Africa, and you're hoping to get a job there. When you went back, you're hoping to get a job there. Then, did you get to South Africa and start applying for articles or whatever legal?
No, I couldn't really immediately do any legal qualifications. I just was applying for jobs. And I got one financial advisor
Sure.
with a company. It was a franchise, so it was like an individual boss representing a larger organization.
Sure.
But that was such a bad experience, because they promised that Well, I never believed when they sold it, you're gonna be living the high life. I was like, it's not that easy. Why are they telling me these stories? I was just thinking, I could use my legal knowledge, my business sense, and all that stuff to try and help advise people on their finances. But then this guy had pitched it in a way that he'd be mentoring us to get to a level where we're handling cases of clients' money and stuff, that type of thing. But unfortunately, as soon as the mandatory training through the larger organization ended, he completely flipped from being nurturing to just being a dictator.
A boss.
No, not even a boss. A boss is someone who guide you and develop you. He was just completely the opposite way. So that's when I decided that was my career in financial advising. It did not go very
So
well.
how long did you stick it in there?
I think I lasted, if I include the time we were given off, 3 months. 1 month training, 1 month including the Christmas break, and then 1 month of trying it out and getting grilled every day.
Oh no.
And then I just told him, I'm done. I'm done.
And then you stopped that. Interesting. You stopped that. You obviously, what is the decision? So when you stopped, you already have a plan in mind, or you like, I'm
No, I was,
quitting as in
for my health,
going home.
for health reasons, I was like, I need to get out of that job. And then that's when I was like, what did I do? I was applying for other jobs, but not getting much, because you know how this applying for jobs is nowadays. It's not very confidence building.
Sure.
It just gets rejected, or you don't hear anything for ages. I actually got a reply to a job I applied for here a year ago, the other day, saying, "Oh, sorry, position's been filled." A whole year later, which is crazy. But
Interesting.
what I did do is I don't know, I'd been on a holiday to Vietnam
Sure.
in 2015, and I saw how they traveled, the people there, because they, a bit of the history about Vietnam is with the war and stuff. So it's developing, and so on. And people were getting around on little motorbikes, A to B, their whole family on board, flat screen TV, that type of thing. It was really cool. I was thinking, South Africa has an issue where a lot of people are struggling to get from A to B on their own initiative. They have to wait for a taxi, bus,
Sure.
train service, or spend a huge fortune on owning their own car.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, motorbikes are quite cheap. They do it in East Africa. What could we do there? And then I was reading about EVs, and my father had been to China and saw all these electric motorbikes. And they said, "Oh, why don't you import that?" type of thing. So we started importing electric motorbikes to South Africa.
Sure.
And then, like the week before, getting through all the paperwork to import vehicles, it takes about 8 months.
Oh no.
Because of administrative issues.
Oh no.
Mostly the police clearance. That took forever. But then we went to China. We checked some vehicles out, so for different manufacturers for motorbikes, and then decided which ones to get. And then the idea was to make it as low cost as possible but good quality, so that people could get one and go to work there and back, or for university students, so that they don't have to rely on public transport, because it can be quite difficult for a lot of people if the taxi doesn't go to a certain spot.
Yeah, and it's an interesting view because you're saying, and they use them in East Africa. When I was in Kenya, I did ask myself, because from one part of the office, even if, let's say, we're in this bank, and then maybe there's head office on the other side of the town, they would use these motorbikes to just send things through. And I was asking, is it because we don't have this need?
Yeah, we don't have a motorbike culture in South Africa. The motorbike culture in South Africa is like hobby.
Sure.
Weekend riders that go on trips with their friends just to ride their motorbikes, like your Harleys and stuff, or those little noisy ones that kids get when they're 16. So the culture in the majority of South Africa is not motorbike culture, whereas East Africa, I don't know why that's interesting.
Yeah,
I don't know why, but it's always been like that.
I think you look at the culture now, for example, even when I look at payments, how South Africa changes to cash,
Yeah,
and when I was comparing at that time with East Africa, and then you realize at that time there's already something like M-Pesa.
yeah, I am
So I
pissed.
think we just clinch to our choices, or maybe there's no need.
Yeah, there wasn't as
Yes,
much of
yeah,
a need,
sure.
whereas I think a lot of people would have to be able to send money quickly from one end of the country to the
Mm.
other in Kenya and stuff. That's why those facilities came about, and they didn't have much faith in their banks.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it is interesting how there's a lot of
Now it's changing.
yeah. Now South Africa's getting more of that.
Sure, the payment landscape is completely changing. Okay,
Mm,
no, I'm just highlighting those differences. So you then try the business, the importing business, and you're saying because of administrative issues, it takes like 8 months, or whatever the documentation is.
mm,
One thing I've compared, like during my time here in the UK, one thing I've compared is that for almost everything, there is a speed service here or premium service, that
yeah,
legal way of speeding up things.
yeah,
Um, if you get me, so because, and in some cases, that's what I felt South Africa falls short in. Like if we're saying the process to get your passport is 3 weeks,
mm.
it's 3 weeks for everyone. And people, because somebody wants to travel next week, or I'm just making an example. Obvious now it's faster than before. I'm just making
Yeah,
it
it has improved.
somebody will then there will be a speed service here that says if you want it in 3 days, pay
X,
£100 more,
yeah,
more, of which I think we don't have
yeah. We have an unofficial one.
unofficially on, which is where I mean it opens up those loopholes. If I was to suggest anything or give an advice to governments, is that look into the process of where people pay, because that means you're employing more people, and that means now the money that is generated through the speed service can create jobs, and then people still get what they want
Mm,
legally. So
mm.
because that's why people end up trying to find the back doors
Cut
and
roots and all
exact
that.
cut
Yeah.
routes and all that. So in that 8 months period, do you really think that process really takes 8 months, or is bureaucracy and somebody wanting something to speed up things that should be faster? And what was your experience during that importing process?
Yeah, no, it definitely is that that is just the way it is. Mostly the big delay was the police ID check, where you have to make a you send your information, they send it up to Pretoria, and then eventually you get it back.
Yeah.
But I did pay for a speed service to get it. Some
Okay.
lady says she helps get your documents done.
Okay.
But like you say, it's not an official one.
Yeah.
It's unofficial. So we had to pay a premium,
Sure.
quite a premium for it. And also, you do wonder, like, if it's unofficial, how legal is it? Is it because
Yeah.
they know somebody and
Who
there's
knows somebody?
and you just have to because I think it would have taken longer if I hadn't used that lady's service. The crazy thing is they advertise them at the police station. Uh, when you're there, you see,
That's
call
what
this
makes it
guy,
legal,
and then you're like, oh,
right?
okay, so maybe it is officially an
Yeah.
unofficial official service.
Okay,
But
yeah.
yeah, I think definitely the UK for a long time has benefited from a very professional, non-partisan, uh, was it civil service,
Sure.
where they've got people who their job is to make sure admin is happening, it's being
Yeah.
done. Obviously, that has helped a lot. Administration, where South Africa it wasn't really done in that way. I don't think many countries actually have a very as professional civil service as the UK had set up. Nowadays, having done business here, I am seeing there's a lot of unnecessary red tape,
Yeah.
lots of different hoops. So
Yeah.
they're almost over administrating at times.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, definitely in South Africa, we need more of that
Sure.
investment into that and
Yeah.
of professionalizing the civil service.
Okay, yeah. So you finally import your vehicles after 8 months,
Yeah, yeah.
correct? And how did that business go?
Well, the thing is, they arrived February 2020,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
we made the application to get the stuff checked for to be road legal in South Africa. That takes about a month. But I made a deal with the guy where I said, if we bring it up to Pretoria, will you
Yeah.
give us time to do it?
Sure.
Like, yeah, all right. So we're getting ready to go up to Pretoria. And then they call me and they say, because we saw the news, and they say, yeah, there's this virus.
Yeah.
We're being told we can't have people coming to the office anymore. And then I think a week later, then the president announced the lockdown.
Sure.
So then after that, they said, let us just come up with a plan. We'll get back to you. I was like, okay, cool. Then I think a month later, they called and said, okay, if you do this stuff, take photos of the vehicles or the e-marks, you submit them to us with the accompanying documents, we'll consider it tested. Because that's what they do to test if it's road legal. They check the documents you provide, and then they check it against the physical specimen.
Sure.
So they said, if I take photos and send it to them, then they'll give the clearance.
Sure.
So what that did do, it taught me the whole process of getting a vehicle homologated is the word.
Yeah.
And so I got nice inside knowledge there. And then what it did also do is the thing definitely that is beneficial for admin in South Africa is there's still that more human approach.
Sure.
So I built the relationships with the various inspectors and the whole NRCS in a way where they became quite friendly. Whereas here, it's always some call center in
AI.
who knows where, and then you speak to somebody and it's all very much your number. I think also it is quite a niche area, so that does help. But the government officials, when you do get to speak to them, they are often very majority of them very friendly.
In South Africa.
Yeah, whereas here it's very straightforward.
But
No,
how can I help you?
Everything it should be. They don't say, yeah, it'll be legal now.
Yeah.
They'll say it should be legal now. They don't want to get themselves in trouble.
Yeah.
But so the COVID thing definitely changed the business. It got me thinking, okay, people aren't going to be commuting, and we don't know for how long is this going to go. But I saw the delivery industry taking off.
Sure.
So I thought, let's pivot to trying to provide vehicles for delivery. So we had about 12 vehicles
Sure.
in stock. So we started repurposing them as delivery vehicles. And then we did a pilot with a pizza shop in our area. And eventually, I think after a year, then someone approached to help them in their project with pitching delivery service to one of the large retailers. And it looked all promising and so on. And we were getting a pilot, even in an advert. But what ticked me off about the advert was when they showed the person pull the throttle, they made a motorbike like engine sound, and these things are silent. So
Yeah, they're silent.
Why are they making a noise? But it was cool seeing it when I go to the shops. I'd see a demo model at the shop, which is the one that I imported,
Sure.
and that type of thing. So we were getting some success.
And these were electric.
Yeah, they were electric motorbikes. I don't know if I cleared that up originally, but yeah, they were all electric motorbikes with the batteries. And there weren't many EVs on the streets then. There still aren't now, but even then it was such a rare sight.
How easy was it to charge them in South Africa?
Oh, easy. The thing is, you just had to make sure that you had spare batteries as well. But the idea eventually was to get battery swap stations and so on. But yeah, the power outages, the load shedding wasn't that bad actually. Especially
Thinking of that as well.
Especially when people started getting solar.
Yeah.
And off-grid
stuff.
But yeah, no, we were making some headway, but I think the biggest issue was a lot of the people we're dealing with would promise a lot of, they're going to place big orders because you have to bring in a container. You can't bring in 5.
Sure.
You have to bring a container. Otherwise it costs you a fortune in shipping. So then just being sort of messed around after a few years of doing this, where we just got through the pilot stages all the time. They were all very happy to take it to the next steps, but then it would always get tied up because someone somewhere would overcomplicate the whole pitch, and
Yeah,
eventually, this is where I come back to the UK. Eventually, I was just tired of struggling through trying to get the money to grow the business,
sure.
to actually be something big and impactful.
So this time you've been obviously trying your business.
Yeah,
You believe COVID has a lot or had a lot of
a big delay,
or
but it also gave
disruption.
us a lot of ways to reanalyze the
Sure,
business model to be
sure,
more B2B
sure,
than B2C.
sure.
'Cause,
Understood.
yeah.
Yeah. So this time you get to the point where you're like, okay, I think what I'm doing at this point in time is not working in South Africa.
Yeah.
At this point in time, I mean, times change, and maybe they may not be COVID, and you can reassess or relook at the situation, but we'll get there. You say, okay, now let me go back to the UK. Let me try something different. Basically, let me go back and work now with the frustration that the business hasn't worked in South Africa.
Mm.
At that time, you're not looking of getting a job. You are looking at running your business still, but just relocating to a different country, basically.
No, I put the business on the side. I'm basically in the process right now of selling the business in South Africa because it
Sure.
has valuable import licenses. You can't just import vehicles. It's got
Yeah.
import and manufacturing
Sure.
license. So we have got it there, but some other people are busy purchasing it at the moment.
Okay.
But then what I thought is the aspects I enjoyed of that business was the legal regulation, dealing with different people from all over the world.
Sure.
We even went to Kenya to go see an electric motorbike manufacturer,
Yeah.
because it was perfect for South Africa. Because the problem with our Chinese models, they're built for very built up urban areas.
Yeah.
But I was like, I want to see this in Tatas and
Yeah.
that type of place,
Makes sense.
not just urban city, Cape Town, Cliff Street or something, where the roads are pretty flat and all
Sure.
that. Whereas this Kenyan bike was perfect for off-road, on-road, went far, the range was good, the
Yeah.
speed was good, it was
Yeah.
perfect. But unfortunately, due to standards of like SABS and KEBS, the Kenyan version, they don't really recognize each other. So that was a big hurdle. The second big hurdle was that Kenyan company wasn't ready yet to export because we said, can we build it under license in South Africa? So
Sure.
I was talking to people about setting up an assembly plant because the thing a lot of countries need to realize is you're never going to compete with China for building
Sure.
the stuff.
Manufacturing element
But
of it.
what
Yeah.
you can do is you can assemble
Sure.
and get it considered assembled in a location.
South Africa.
So my idea was, because when we went to the Chinese factories, we saw they basically had all the bits come on different trucks, and then they build them at the factory, and there's a motorbike. So I was thinking, if we get all the bits and pieces sent in from wherever, China most likely, but assembled in South Africa, you're creating jobs, you're creating a proudly South African
Sure.
product,
Sure.
and then you're creating something more suitable to the African continent.
Sure.
And these guys had a lot of that already. So I was wanting to do the licensing, but I needed to get the money.
Yeah.
So I applied for quite a lot of grants and so on from the South African government
Sure.
to just help get funding towards the R&D.
Sure.
But then when I didn't get through the one, I thought there's a lot of talk about the green economy and last mile
Sure.
and net zero and all that, but the actions are not really being shown.
What a
So I
good
thought
point.
to
Yeah.
myself, yeah, this isn't going to go anywhere. Let me get back into law in the UK and try to use my experiences in the legal world again. So that's when I decided to come back to South Africa. I mean,
To the UK.
to the UK.
Just before you move to the UK, just a question, obviously. Not a sensitive question.
Mm-hmm.
Realistically, how it goes. When you were applying for those grants, did at any point feel like this is not being approved because it's related to PE or anything, or you didn't experience anything of that sort?
No, I don't think so much. I think, what was it? The BE wasn't really affected. I think it was more just,
Sure.
you've got the good plan. I had this whole manufacturing. We knew exactly how much money we wanted.
Yeah.
I think the biggest frustration of the whole raising finances, if you go in for 2 million, you're more likely to be rejected if you go for 20 million. For some reason, I don't get it myself.
Sure.
So it was that sort of, we were trying to keep it that it was all very cash
Sure.
positive type business as well. I didn't want to take too many loans. So I don't think it was to do with BE. Obviously, there's might be, just don't know. But I
Yeah.
think it was more just, we wanted to bring in assembly manufacturing, we'll just call it, into South Africa and create jobs for people. But yeah, the lack of sort of support, I thought was
Sure.
frustrating. Even if they didn't give me the grant, I
Yeah.
thought, could they not at least direct me towards the right people? Because like maybe private investors and so on. So it was also that lack of real enthusiasm, because I have been to quite a lot of things where ministers talk, and they do come with nice plans and stuff, but the actual implementation, they never really actually have the answers to how they're going to do it.
Sure.
Yeah.
So in your own way, I mean, your own assessment as a young entrepreneur, put it that way at that time, would you consider that South African government failed you when you would have built something and probably delivered jobs and give opportunities to people? Was that the feeling this time when you're living, when you were trying something?
No, I don't think it was just the government. It's also just like some of the attitudes of the business people as well, because
Sure.
you've got the solution for them. I've seen some other companies enter the market exactly the same ideas. I wasn't coming up with anything revolutionary. It was all practical. But because maybe I don't have doctor in front of my name, or I didn't go to school with at certain schools,
Sure.
that might be a part. I think there's a lot of that. It's not nepotism, but there's that sort of those internal
Yeah.
networks that you get, and I think that's a big problem all over the world.
Sure.
Yeah. So I just was tired by that stage, because I think
Yeah.
I've been doing it for about 4 years
Yeah.
type thing.
But the problem was clearly you knew people just like me, not the people who
I didn't know
the people
the
that
right
press the
people,
buttons.
maybe. Yeah, I didn't know maybe the right people.
Yeah.
But I learned a lot
Sure.
about self-determination,
Sure.
resilience, that type of thing. So you learn a lot. You appreciate all the different boring aspects you have to do of
Sure.
business, because no one's going to do it. You have to do it.
Sure.
So I think the biggest challenge if you're trying to do your own business is slotting in that time just to take time for yourself, not because you can end up, if I don't do this, it'll never get done, and then you work the whole week.
Sure.
It's good to also reflect, otherwise you can just burn out.
Yeah.
That's important.
No, that's a very interesting story, and I had to just go through it. And now you move this time to the UK, and you're thinking, I do have a qualification relevant to the European or even the UK market, and this is in 2020, obviously post Brexit, and you get here. Excuse me. So you would have relatively more opportunities in the UK than you would have under Brexit, my belief, because probably there will be people who left the UK going to other European countries when there was obviously a split between the UK to the rest of Europe. And obviously there is that hope when you come back, and also the hope of running. How was then the experience for you when you got back to the UK this time?
Yeah, when I came back to the UK, I managed to sort of find some legal work,
Sure.
but it was not in a very well run business.
Sure.
So that also was where I decided that I need to leave that one and then look for other work. So I've been doing sort of freelance work. Been working since I got back for a UK company that's importing
Sure.
electric scooters for the same sort of plan.
Yeah, exactly.
So I assisted with all the regulation, supplier relationship, finding the right supplier, making sure it will be UK compliant
Sure.
for the market.
Yeah.
And then those vehicles arrived December last year,
Yeah.
and we've been basically just getting all the right applications done through
Sure.
mostly the Department of Licenses.
Yeah.
But that is quite a slow process.
Sure.
We could only pay via check,
That's
like a
difficult.
checkbook. So the boss had to order a checkbook
Yeah,
from his
yeah.
bank, and then we had
Yeah.
to send it by post physically with all the
Yeah.
applications
Yeah.
to Wales.
Yeah.
And yeah, South Africa's got a much more streamlined process to do it. It's also slow, but at least you don't have to post things up
Yeah.
here in that sense. So it was interesting there.
So you are importing. So you're using a port that. So what was the? Sorry, I just want to understand. You can go via Wales, where the vehicles coming to England, or they
Yeah,
can
they're
go
coming to
to
England, but what we
Wales?
had to send to Wales was all the paperwork.
Sure.
So they came from China
Okay.
and then arrived in UK in December.
Yeah.
So now we've just been busy getting all the paperwork done so we can get the license disc
Sure.
and the license plate
Sure.
so they can start delivering for a large food company, where we've also got the battery swapping
Sure.
set up, that type of thing. So yeah, we've unpacked all the bikes and yeah, just waiting for the DVLA to say, here's your licenses. But yeah, it's been interesting, a challenge in the UK.
Yeah.
I got all this experience from trying to run my own business in South Africa.
Sure.
But often you'd hear, I need UK experience to get the job. So I think the big challenge for me was coming here without a job lined up.
Sure.
That didn't help at all. So I had to do everything on my own,
Sure.
find the right jobs, networks, and stuff. So one of the things I did, which has helped, was I joined the Chamber of Commerce South Africa.
Yeah.
Met lots of people. I think we met at one of this sort of
We
third
met.
party with UK.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing, because I was thinking the other day, and this is where I kept it like, I met you at the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
I don't have an accounting degree from South Africa, but because I went to UJ and that was a 20 years celebration of UJ, we met there, and I find out you didn't even go to UJ.
I just went because it was like to meet people.
I was like, these guys must be very bored in the UK.
No. That all right. The food was all right, if I remember. But no. I was just like, the chamber has like these third party events.
Yeah.
Every now and again they advertise, and that was one. And I thought, we'll get to meet people.
Sure.
And maybe there'll be opportunities. Because also with this company I'm working with,
Sure.
we're always looking for money.
Yeah.
So we went and went to see who might be there to find some funding or make a good impression.
Sure.
So I always try and network as much as possible. The beauty of the UK is it is a networking capital.
Sure.
There's so many opportunities to meet
new people. Yeah. So shout out to UK, to UJ, by the way. Much appreciated, really. I mean, when just to give a bit of a background, when UJ was turning 20 years, for alumni, there was an event that is being hosted. Was here in London. It happens continuously. So this was last year. I think it was last year when
it
we
was
met.
last year.
We met a bunch of South Africans.
Yeah,
good people.
It was nice. It was a nice event. There were a lot of nice people.
And also, meeting Prof. Mpedi, and very humble man.
Yeah.
And shout out to you, Jay, for that.
Yeah,
that's how I met David. Yeah. Okay. So going back to now, you're finding these difficulties in UK. The reason I was asking that England, Wales, was that wouldn't you then find the disconnects between England. I mean, I know a lot of laws are the same, right, between England and
Yeah, no, it's not really to do with the laws of Wales or England.
sure.
Those are pretty much the same.
Yeah,
It's more Scotland that has a different
different
set
one.
of
Yeah,
laws and so on.
100%. Yeah,
No, it was just the difficulty has been the paperwork of,
sure,
like I said to them, how come I can't make an EFT payment for
sure.
these applications? Why do I have to send it? Because it delayed us by 10 days
Yeah,
because we had to get the checkbook. Because I said, who pays with checks still? Only my uncle. He's 86, so it makes sense why he's paying checks because that's what he grew up on.
I understand.
But us, you think those type of small things are things that all countries should be doing. Is how can you reduce that sort of administrative time
Yeah,
that it takes to get processes done?
yeah.
That was interesting.
So interesting. So so how long did the process take from initial stages to getting vehicles to the UK?
From ordering,
Yeah,
about 6 months because the vehicles had never been to the UK before. So because of leaving the EU, the UK has adopted the UKCA
sure,
as the standards, like how we have SABS.
sure.
So for getting a product into the UK, it has to pass that. So we had to tell our supplier in China, you need to get all the proper certification done. But thankfully for motorbikes, they are still considered. They will still use European Certificate of Standards
Sure.
as in this country. Not for much longer, but for this batch at least we could do it.
Yeah.
So, but for the charge station and that had to be done where they had to do all UK regulation.
Sure.
And that took a good 2 months. There was a lot of delays with the lab. So the factory we're dealing with had to harass the lab in China.
Sure.
And then after that, it was really the worst time when it was ready to be shipped.
Sure.
Then there was I think Mid-Autumn Festival in China, which is like a week long holiday. And then there was also the other week holiday they have around that time, September, October. So there was a big delay there for the shipping. So the factories were shut. And then we managed to get a few shippers. I always like to look at 3 companies when I'm comparing to go with. So for the freight, we had 3 shipping companies. The one said they were South African based because I wanted to try use the South African based company, but they said it made more sense if I used a UK based company.
Sure.
So we didn't go with them. Then the one they said to me, yeah, we can do it for this much money, and I thought that sounds really low. So I said, are you sure it's this amount? I think about 5 times to the guy. He's like, yes. So then we're getting ready for the stuff to be picked up in China to take to the boat. And then all of a sudden they have an issue where they won't come and pick up the goods because they said the factory doesn't want to give them a certain paperwork. But I think it was more to do with the fact the guy probably quoted me way too low and the bosses didn't want to take that. So we had to make a pivot and get another shipper to do it. The third option we went with. And then, it arrived just before Christmas. So it takes about 40 days from China to UK. When it arrived, I think, 20th of December.
Yeah, that's before Christmas. That's your Christmas gift.
Yeah.
Just taking a bit. So what I've seen with people, and sometimes myself, I'm guilty of that. There are cases where you feel your tolerance level is more for the UK than it is for South Africa. I'm not sure if it's a question of this is home. I think things should be happening. And then when you now in the UK and things are not happening, you don't focus on it too much. You are more forgiving to the UK. So comparing that experience of how long it took in South Africa to import and now how long it took to the UK and all these regulations, would you say the frustration is the same? Would you say the process just takes long? Not because South Africa was being inefficient, but both were as equally as inefficient, for example. So that I'm just asking your tolerance level.
Yeah,
when it
no,
comes
my
to
tolerance level is the same for
Sure.
both. It's just because they're both the same in a sense. They both take probably as long as the other.
Yeah,
They just have different ways of where the inefficiencies are coming in.
sure.
So, like making the application to get the vehicle tested in South Africa
Yeah,
takes a long time.
yeah,
The application to get the vehicle licensed here takes a long time. So it's the two different elements there.
Sure.
That's why. But no, I treat the British authorities exactly the same as South Africa, where I harass them every now and then to say what's happening.
Exactly. Yeah.
But no, I equal opportunity in that. So no, my tolerance is the same,
Yeah.
but was the experience is just it's different things.
Sure, I understood, which is difficult to compare.
But then they
because-
balance out because the
Exactly.
inefficiencies of the one will be balanced up with the
Okay.
other one.
Yeah.
So it's not that. It's just we're shipping goods. There's so many variables that can go wrong.
Sure.
All that. So yeah, so shipping is quite a stressful industry.
Process. Okay, but the good thing, you have both the South African experience in terms of import and now the UK experience in
Yeah.
terms of import. And I believe you are running your own business now, helping people to import, right?
Yeah, because I got frustrated with this whole waiting on goods to arrive. I thought, let me rather just use my knowledge,
Yeah.
set up a guidance
Sure.
consultancy to help guide people if they're importing
Yeah.
mostly automotive things, because that's where my experience is.
Yeah.
But if people have stuff they're wanting to import
Sure.
from China or wherever, we'll make sure it's UK market ready and
Sure.
compliant. So if once it's in, you still meet all those mandates, like say if you've got waste,
Sure.
because you have to track all your waste in the UK. So it's to stay compliant as well. So I'm using that experience to try and advise businesses in Africa, China, UK, how to get the goods into the UK and compliant.
Interesting. And you've gone through the experience yourself, which is a good thing. You're not,
Yeah.
it's not a book knowledge. You've tried and you know where frustrations are, where efficiency or inefficiencies are, or can be improved. That's very much important. Okay, now you looking at your experience in the UK and looking at your experience in South Africa. You came here for legal related jobs, and you suddenly I mean, you're working more on import, which is what you were doing in South Africa. Did you work on any other jobs since you arrived? I mean, a lot of people, they will come from South Africa, come here knowing I'm gonna be this, but suddenly I can take any job. I can work at Tesco, I can work there, I can work there. Did you take any other jobs?
Yeah, well, I had that brief experience doing for a law admin company.
Sure.
But that didn't last very long. And then when I was waiting for this job with the other company that's importing, I had a week at a South African grocery store in the UK.
South African grocery store, okay.
So where they distribute all the goods for your home orders. I was packing the boxes.
Yeah.
I was so bad at that job. I put in my full effort.
Yeah.
But they said I was too slow. So after a week of working there, they said, we're not going to take you on. I was very sad because I thought, now I have to find another job.
Was the company run by South Africans or British?
South Africans, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not going to mention names.
Yeah, no need. I'm just asking.
But you can probably all guess, if you've been here for a while in the UK, which one it is.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, they were very good. But it's just I just didn't fit into that role because I think it was just overwhelming. All this packing as quick as possible. The environment wasn't right for me.
Yeah.
But I didn't expect that I'd be packing biltong and stuff
Sure.
for 8-hour shift or whatever it was. It was good workout. I didn't need the gym for a while. From that week, I felt like strong. So that was also why I was a bit disappointed not to get it, because I thought I'll get very fit picking up 20 bags of pup, 20 kilo bags of pup and stuff.
Yeah.
And picking up boxes and stuff. The worst was packing beers, individual beers.
Yeah.
'Cause you have to wrap them in paper
Yeah.
and pack them properly. And it was horrible. That was the worst part of that.
That's interesting. This is sometimes where I say people sometimes become more forgiving. So the question is, if you were in South Africa, would you have worked on the
Probably
warehouse?
not. No, probably not. I don't think I would, just for various reasons.
Sure.
I even worked before I started studying in 2016, when I first got there, before I started, I worked night shift at a hotel in
Sure.
Brighton. And yeah, that was that was entertaining.
In Brighton, eh?
You drunk British people.
Yeah.
It was eye-opening.
It was different, eh?
Yeah, it was very different. It was funny stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what is your relationship with South Africa now, as we speak? Like, what is your relationship with South Africa? You've been now in the UK for some time. You obviously a dual citizen. Obviously, you still see yourself as South African. Do you what do you miss the most about South Africa? That's the first thing. And the second part is when you think of things that are, or maybe just before we get there, just before you look at the relationship with South Africa, because you would look at it in different angles. How does you being in the UK, how has that transformed you as a person? How has it changed your identity being here, doing things differently, at the level of work, not now as a student? How has that changed David as a human being? And it being growth, eye opener, the identity, just your identity.
I think it's helped one, to appreciate your home country more,
Sure.
especially for like all the unique elements of the country,
Sure.
just the people.
Yeah.
One of the things you always notice is a lot of people are always like smiling, no matter what their situation. People are always
Sure.
more easygoing and funny.
Yeah.
A very funny bunch.
Yeah.
South Africans are very funny. So just appreciating them. But in terms of working here,
Yeah.
I think I've just been sort of seeing how a lot of the
So this is okay, just as a person, okay, maybe rephrase my question. As a person now, having lived in London, and obviously you lived in Brighton before, having lived in London, having worked in London, having ran business in London, in terms of personal growth, in terms of things that you grew up, be it being skills, be it being more money, if there is, be it being the networks, how has that made you a better human being in terms of improving your life?
Yeah, I think it helps me be a bit more less shy to approach people.
Sure.
Talk, sort of learn how to be better at interacting with
Sure.
just everybody,
Yeah.
in a sense. Whereas before I'd be a bit more shy because I was in my comfort zone. So you realize if you want to get things done,
Sure.
you need to just do it. Don't overthink it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you keep thinking,
Yeah.
you will more likely not do,
Yeah.
because you analyze everything. So I'm starting to learn more how to just do it
Yeah.
than before.
Sure.
Whereas often I sit back and think,
Yeah.
oh, but if I do this will happen.
This is what happened.
But no, you just do it. The best way to learn is through action. You can iron out your mistakes quicker when you do something.
Sure.
So that's something I've definitely learned over these last 2 years or so.
Sure.
So that's improved me. Like I've met lots of interesting people because I've been more, let's go and meet people. Like the UJ thing. A couple of years ago, I'd been like, oh, I'm not going to that. I don't know UJ.
Exactly.
But then I was like, oh, I'll meet some people.
Yeah.
And stuff. So no. And then also I've been like making friends with my unofficial country of Zimbabwe.
Sure.
My father's links, we always get along well with the Zim crowd.
Yeah.
So it's been great meeting the Zim community
Sure.
in London.
Sure.
So yeah, it's been really nice in that sense. But yeah, no, I think my main motivator is always I just need to keep working to eventually be able to bring my better half Amanda over from South Africa
Sure.
to come and stay here with me. But my goal is eventually to go back to South Africa because, like I said, it's made me appreciate the country more.
Sure.
And want to do bits to help be part of the economic growth of the country eventually in some way or other.
Yeah. So yeah, now going back to the question of now that you are here, you know what you know. What is the relationship with South Africa? Looking at it, you are saying you appreciate more. What are certain things that when you just think randomly, you took lightly when you're in South Africa, you took for granted, and now you don't have those anymore because you obviously you traded them away?
I do miss not having to rely on public transport. Miss my car. I'd never want to drive in the UK. It looks terrifying.
Okay.
Like there's so many rules
Yeah.
over here and slow. You drive so slow here.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't think I want to drive in the UK. I've never driven in the UK,
Okay.
actually.
Yeah.
So I do miss that.
Did you convert your license at least?
Not yet. I need to do that,
Okay.
but not yet.
Yeah.
But the other things, what it's made me appreciate is not just South Africa, but like the whole continent in a way, where I want to see it that African countries like South Africa can be self-reliant. We don't get impacted as much by other things going on in the world, where we get like the proper infrastructure where we're getting goods and services processed and made in the country rather than just shipping out raw material, that type of thing. So I'm really proud of where I'm from, and when people recognize, oh, you're from this place, and usually they have nice things to say. Usually.
Yeah. And yeah, that's good. And you highlighted that you were thinking, okay, maybe you need to come to the UK, raise funds, and have more money to probably look back into coming to the country with a bigger pocket so you can do things. Do you think realistically, from what you've assessed over the time, you've been able to achieve that? That's number one. Two, how is the outlook in terms of you being able to achieve that, in terms of my main goal would be to go to South Africa with more money? Or the outlook is like, yes, I'm taking it as it comes, and let's see how it comes.
Well, what I have learned is I've definitely, the plans have definitely altered.
Sure.
But the important thing is that you change your priorities and your plans to the new situation. Otherwise, you can just get stuck and miserable.
Sure.
So it definitely is more realistic than I thought to go back, but still have a presence here because of things like technology. There's so many South Africans that are actually working in South Africa for British companies, earning British money.
Sure.
But obviously, they did their bit here first to get those opportunities where they come up every now and again.
Yeah.
That's my ideal picture eventually.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about this idea of doing this consultancy. I could be anywhere in the world to do it.
Yeah.
That's where it's more realistic than I thought. Whereas maybe 10 years ago,
it wasn't as
realistic. It was more, I'd have to live here for quite long. But now, I don't like to now. This is what I have learned over the last couple of years, is not to have real schedules of achieving things, because life happens, things change.
Yeah.
So I definitely do see it as more realistic. It's just taking a bit longer than I would personally like. Obviously, you and I would both like to.
Yeah.
Next day, it's all your ideas are doable.
Yeah.
So I've definitely learned to appreciate, okay, it takes a bit more time than I initially thought.
Sure.
But to rather dwell on that to come up with how to make it a reality.
No, that's interesting. So what kind of advice would you give to somebody. Somebody's in South Africa, same position that David was in.
Mm-hmm.
You have your qualification. Probably the person never been outside of the UK, but they are in South Africa. They are struggling to get a job. They are
Mm-hmm.
struggling to get their business taking off in South Africa, and they're looking at coming to the UK, going abroad. What kind of advice would you say? Would you say they must stay and stick it in South Africa? Would you say they must go out for hope? Would you say, what kind of advice would you give to the person?
Well, definitely your best bet would be you apply for jobs in both countries. If you have the privilege of having two passports,
Sure.
then definitely apply for both. At times, I do wish I had already had a job lined up in the UK before I moved,
Yeah.
because it would have made life a little less stressful.
Sure.
So it is much bigger risk just coming here and applying.
Yeah.
You have to have the right support base. I've been very fortunate with the family I have up here that they've been supporting me in setting up with places to stay and all that sort of thing.
Sure.
But yeah, it's definitely a big leap, and probably one of the best things is never try and compare too much here and there everyday things. Otherwise, you just get homesick. Maybe I've probably done that myself too many times.
Yeah.
But to appreciate the things you have here that you don't have back home,
Sure.
and when you do go home, you appreciate the things you have
Sure.
more. But definitely, it's trying not to compare two places too often.
Yeah.
Laugh at it. You can laugh at everything, like the
Yeah,
differences that this
Yeah.
and that stuff, but also try and probably talk to people who've done it. If you don't know now with all this social media, I'm not a big social media user myself.
Sure.
I'm trying to just for business sake, not for personal.
Sure.
But it's good to reach out to these groups. You never know who you might meet.
Sure.
And then when you are here, try and reach out to groups regardless of where they're from. If you've got an interest, like say you both like football, you try and find people to play football. I'm still trying to find people to play football with. But no, I've met other people and other interests of mine
Sure.
and that type of thing. I've even been doing voluntary work for Citizens Advice in Sutton.
Yeah.
Just to it's nice. I get to have a laugh with some of the people who work there. Very nice bunch.
Yeah.
And then also I'm helping people solve problems, often very big problems like housing situations and stuff. And then it's building my UK experience.
Sure.
So now if I do go and apply for a formal job, I'll be able to say I've been volunteering at
Sure.
this place. So yeah, voluntary work's a good way to try and build your standing in that community as well.
That's good. And are you comfortable sharing which side of London you're in? Maybe people wanting to connect, South Africans wanting to network.
Yeah, no, I'm in Croydon area.
Yeah.
It's quite a well-connected area in the sense you can just jump on the train and you anywhere in London pretty much.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, in Croydon. So anyone want to meet up?
Hit you out.
Box Park in Croydon or something.
Yeah, I know. Okay, now we know South Africa has certain issues which in some way has made you to decide to come this side. What would you suggest? Obviously, as a platform, as a podcast, we look at, yes, we have all kind of problems that we have, like just like any other country. But what are the few issues that you've identified with South Africa and you think you can suggest solutions for?
Yeah, that's an interesting and hard question to answer because there's lots of different areas you could look at.
Sure.
But I don't know. I guess one there's definitely making the country safer for the women in our country. That we have a tier 2, of course, but the level it's at in South Africa is it's not great. Just in that sort of social thing, we need to sort of protect the woman more in South Africa, because they really do keep the place ticking.
Yeah.
that's
So practically, that's I mean, that's an interesting answer.
yeah, that's one of the things that
Obviously, you would have a purple icon and you have all the laws, GBV laws. But
yeah, but the
practically, what do you
implementation,
think the
yeah.
implementation is falling off? Where do you think maybe we're not getting it 100% right?
I think we're not getting it right in the sense of these sort of social services are failing in terms of also the social norms, sort of normalizing
Excuse me.
that type of violence towards people.
Sure.
And yeah, just the sort of policing of it. It's
Sure.
not taken as seriously as it could be.
Yeah.
The UK, they take these things extremely seriously. Sometimes it comes across as you're thinking a bit odd, but that's just because we come from a place where it's not taken as seriously.
Yeah.
So like yesterday when I was at Citizens Advice, the police came in to sort of tell us about someone who, if he turns up with this young girl, we need to call them immediately. So they're being very like vigilant
Sure.
if there's any sort of reports of abusive behavior.
Say it sorted.
Yeah, they always tell you that. So they're obviously listening to the train. Yeah. So, no, it's good, but also just we need to just take more care of of people in our community.
Sure. No, that's interesting. Is there anything that you would have wanted to share about your journey that probably I didn't cover as a question or we didn't cover? Just
Not that I can
enlightening.
think of. Yeah, my first time being on such a thing.
Yeah.
And an interesting experience.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, definitely been a good experience.
Sure. Thank you so much, David. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Not as simple as easy, but it's always good for people reflecting where they came from and also just sharing, just so other people can learn. And I myself have learned a lot from your experience and your story, and I'm hoping that our viewers have learned a lot from what you just shared. Thank you so much.
No, thank you very much.